So that glass looks orange because it comes out of the furnace at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. So at that temperature, it glows bright orange. Now, Jesse's going to incorporate some colored glass to that. And the fastest and easiest way we can do that is to roll the clear glass through what we call frit. Frit is simply crushed up colored glass. This is a beautiful fire red. So that colored glass, we call it frit, is manufactured in Germany. We don't make it ourselves. We purchase it as is, and if you look over the far end of the room, you can see we have a large selection of colors to choose from. So rolling that into the frit sticks to the surface just like sprinkles would stick to ice cream. And then we'll melt that in using our reheating furnace, which is right here. Now this furnace is strictly for reheating or resoftening the glass. So he'll melt that into the surface, smooth it out, and that will give us a thin veneer of color. Now the color won't have its full vibrancy until after the piece is completely cooled down, which won't be until tomorrow.
So they got to imagine.
You gotta imagine the color. We got people in the back seat today. Folks doing all right? All right, great. So, pump air into that hollow blue pipe. We'll see that gather expand. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
So that is the last one. That will conclude our demonstration. You enjoyed it? So we've got several what we call optic molds here under the table and around that wooden block. So it looks to me he's going to go into what we call a pineapple mold. Now that pineapple mold just has a bunch of little tiny pyramids throughout. And what that's going to do is put dimples on the surface of the scatter. You'll blow into the pipe while he's in that mold. And there we have all that surface texture. So we call that a pin mold or a Valentine mold, a pineapple mold. So he's going to let this scatter cool down to a nice chilly 1,000 degrees. So when we say the glass is cold, it's around 1,000 degrees still. So it's a relative term. Yep, sure. Look at me, I'm helping. I still don't know what Jesse's going to make, but he's going to draw it out for us now. And we are going to cheer him on. Jesse went off center.
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse's one of our technicians here. He's our lead technician. So he builds and maintains equipment for us. And it's not every day that he's out here blowing glass with us.
Hey.
So you guys are in for a treat. So now that that's cooled down sufficiently, it makes a great surface area for gathering more glass. So check this out. He is going to come out with 3 times the amount of glass and what he had before. So using a wooden block, he's going to immediately start to shake, center, and cool that gather. While he's doing that, I'm going to play you an animation of what he just did. This is how we get glass out of the furnace. So look on any of the screens. There's a cutaway view of the inside of our furnace. What he did was he put that first gather into the melted glass, turned clockwise, and as he turned, it gathered up more glass. And this is how we determine the amount of glass we're going to have to work with. We gather the glass up in layers, and we call these layers gathers. Now, most of these demonstrations are 2 gathers, but you can do 3, 4, 5, 6 gathers. Just keep in mind, the more times you gather, the more glass you're going to have to deal with. So if you start getting up to 5 and 6 gathers, you're going to need more help. You're going to need more people to help you make the piece. So using our steel table, we call it a marver. You can see that dripping out. He's using gravity as a tool. And that's the sign of a skilled glass maker. When we're beginning as glass blowers, we're not terribly good with gravity. Gravity is our enemy when we're starting out. So everybody wants to just drip to the floor. Need a door, Jesse? So, as we gain years of experience, we learn to use gravity as an excellent tool. And it's the most inexpensive tool in our arsenal. So this tool he's using now, we call these jacks. And you notice he used those blades to make a narrow constriction right off the end of the blowpipe. We call that constriction a jack line. So the jack line plays a big part in everything we make, because at some point you want to remove the piece from the blowpipe, and it's at that jack line that will do that. So you notice all those little speckles he did on his drawing? Those are bubbles. So this piece has a pattern of organized bubbles. And can anybody guess how that happened? You're right, sir. From that pineapple mold. Every dimple on that mold, from that mold, when he re-dipped into the melted glass, every dimple tracked with air bubble. And that's how we get that organized pattern of air bubbles. So he used the jacks to divide that bubble up. So he made a jack line, and now he has a separate division of the bubble right in the center. And then again, using some gravity and centrifugal force, doing that big windmill motion. Don't try that at home, kids. 31 years of experience, that's right. So he's hooked up the blowpipe to our auto inflation system. So you'll notice there's a long hose connected to that mouthpiece of the blowpipe. That hose runs through a pump that's mounted behind the bench, and that pump is connected to a floor pedal. You probably can't see the pedal. These folks probably can. But when he steps on that pedal, it provides about 1.5 pounds of compressed air. That's how he's going to finish inflating this. Now that auto inflator came to us thanks to the pandemic. So when all the glass blowers here came back to work after lockdown, guess what? We had to wear masks, and we could no longer blow the glass the way it had been done for 2,000 years. We had to figure something else out. So the technicians here came up with this inflator, auto inflator. And when we started using it, we all hated it. Everybody was getting tangled up in that long hose, and it was just a big mess. And now that we don't have to use it, we use it all the time. So, it allows us to tool the glass and inflate it at the same time. Now, the option before the auto inflator would have been me going down the other end of the pipe and going into it while he's tooling it. And at my age, it's not comfortable. So, the auto inflator turns out is a really great device to use. I guess one good thing came about because of the pandemic, right? The old auto inflator. So I'm going to help out here with a wooden paddle. And we're going to flatten what's going to be the bottom of our vase. That line. This is a great way to make a nice crisp edge using that auto inflator, a little bit of fire. Woo! So there's no extra charge for the fire show. It's all part of the deal. So we are now going to transfer the piece from the blowpipe to this solid iron that I have. So in order to do that, I'm going to make up what we call a punty. P-U-N-T-Y. It's a small gathered glass on the end of this solid iron. I'll shape this up on our steel table. Once it's shaped up, I'll present it to Jesse, and he'll attach it to what's going to be the bottom of our vase. Once it's attached, this will act as a temporary handle. And once it's attached, Jesse will introduce some what we call thermal shock to that narrow jack line. And that could either be a couple of drops of water, or maybe just caressing that jack line with a room temperature steel tool. Yeah, I used the word caress, buddy. Have you been reading Airport now? I have been reading Airport and Romance novels, yes. Yep. So a couple drops of water. Boom. And the crowd goes crazy. Good to celebrate at that point. We usually do, even if it's a celebration inside, because that's potentially where things can go pretty bad. So there's a fair amount of guesswork to what we're doing up here as far as guessing the different temperatures within the single piece of glass that we might be working on. So there are subtle differences in temperature within that piece of glass. When we're beginning as glass blowers, we're not terribly good at doing that guesswork. So at that juncture and transfer is where we would lose a lot of our pieces because we're just not good at guessing. So this is the longest key of the process. I can field a few questions if anybody has any. Yeah.
Why do you guys wear protective gloves?
Protective gloves? We don't need to. I'll tell you why. Because the pipes and irons are made of stainless steel. And stainless steel is a really poor conductor of heat, unlike copper would be. So this third of the iron that's darkly tarnished, that's where it gets hot. We call that the hospital zone. You grab that and go in the ER. But back here where it's shiny and smooth, it's perfectly safe to touch. Now, if something does, if heat does travel up, we have this contraption here called a pipe cooler. And And it's a trough filled with water, and that cools the pipe down. You can see that steam coming off of that. So there are ways to deal with that. So watch Jesse, he's gonna cut right through that glass. Lip wrap. Clear?
Yes, please.
All right. So we're gonna apply what we call a lip wrap. So it's a separate color that's applied to what's gonna be the lip of our vase. I'll gather the glass for that. Bring it over to the table, do some shape into it. And this might be a pretty good ooh and ah moment, so please feel free. Oh no, not yet. You'll know when.
Just practicing.
Everybody just settle down. So I'll present this. You'll attach it and pull it to the thickness he wants. There you go. Somebody caught on it. Just cut it away. I don't know, guys. That was
terrible.
That was kind of lame, wasn't it? Woo! All right. So now that that's applied, it's going to give a separate colored look around the lip of our base. And that's something a machine can't do. So most mass-produced glass items, things like pickle jars and beer bottles, are all made by machines. A machine cannot put on a lip wrap. A machine can't apply a handle. I'm going to help out. I'm just going to level out that lip. All right. Yep. I'm here for you, Jesse. Thank you. Didn't know I had a family here today. Well, you guys are a great looking bunch. Why don't you give yourselves a round of applause? Come on. I'm not hitting on the crowd. So we got a beautiful hourglass shape going here. Okay. Sure.
Ooh.
And then I'll fork it. Yes. How you folks think he's doing so far?
Incredible.
Jesse, you passed the audition.
Hired.
You're hired.
Day one.
All right. So that piece is completed, and we're going to move it on to the next stage of the process, which is called annealing. Annealing is a word meaning slow cooling of the glass.
Just gonna torch the bottom once.
Okay?
And one more flash. Okay, fire. Go ahead. Thank you.
No extra charge for the flame show. So he's evening all the heat out so that everything is the same temperature within that piece of glass. And we use this torch to do that.
Last flash.
Okay. When he puts the whole piece in the oven for about 5 seconds, we call that a flash. And that kind of evens the heat out within the piece. Because keep in mind, if anything we're working on gets below 900 degrees, that's when it's likely going to crack and break. So, a couple drops of water, right where that punchy connection is, and a light tap. Light tap. And away we go to the annealing oven. Look at Jesse run. I don't run, I just walk. Okay. Yeah, so, that piece is resting now in our annealing oven. That oven is set at 965 degrees. It'll hold everything we made today at that temperature. Then at the end of the day, we'll turn that oven off. Everything will cool slowly overnight. And then about tomorrow afternoon, we'll be able to take everything out. Everything will be properly and fully annealed and ready for use. So you guys have been a delight. Is that not an alarm or a... Okay, I thought it was one of our alarms. Is there any further questions I might be able to answer? A little louder, please. Why did we fire it at the end? So when it disconnects from that punchy connection, sometimes there's a little bit of sharpness there, and we just want to melt that over. All right, anything else?
How hot's the oven?
How hot is the oven? The working temperature is right around 2,100 degrees. So it's hot. Yeah.
So the camera inside of that oven that we saw on the
Yeah.
screen, why doesn't that camera melt?
The camera in the oven, why doesn't it melt? Whew. This is going to be a long answer. You guys ready? This is a story. You guys ready for a story? Yeah. All right. So there is no camera in the oven. We fooled you. That camera is actually mounted behind the oven. And it's looking through a window of glass. Now, here's where the story starts. That window is made of specialty glass. It's called fused silica glass. And that glass can withstand temperatures of up to 4,000 degrees. That furnace only runs at 2,000. That's why that glass doesn't melt. There's more. So, that glass, fused silica, was invented here in Corning way back in 1934. At that time, there really was no use for it, so Corning just sat on the recipe. Until decades later, NASA showed up in town. And guess what? They needed windows for their spacecrafts. So, we said, we got just the thing for you. So all spacecraft windows are made of that fused silica glass that can withstand re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. But there's more. That is also the same glass they used to make fiber optics. So, anybody made a text message today?
Yeah.
So something from 1934 helped you do that. And that's the end of the story. What formats it comes in? I already showed you, which is solid bar color. Now this comes in about 10-inch long solid bars. Another